Sinkhole insurance and catastrophic ground collapse. What's the difference in the Villages, Florida? If you don't know and want to know, then stay tuned. I'm going to try to give you a good idea of what the sinkhole and catastrophic ground collapse insurance is here in the state of Florida. And those of you moving down that may not know the difference, don't be fooled. If your insurance agent says you're covered because you have catastrophic ground collapse, we're going to put this in your policy. It's our gift to you kind of thing. Don't be fooled. The state law requires insurance companies to give you the catastrophic ground collapse as part of your insurance policy. Now, I don't think there's any law prohibiting them from maybe charging you a little bit for that, but all insurance companies have to at least offer you catastrophic ground collapse. That's the law in this state. They do not have to offer you sinkhole insurance, and most insurance policies here do not give you sinkhole insurance. So if you're fooled thinking your catastrophic ground collapse covers you in case of a sinkhole, you are misguided. It's not true. Let me read just a little bit to you from the State Insurance of Florida. Sinkhole coverage provides more comprehensive coverage than catastrophic ground cover collapse. If the property suffers foundation, cracks, and other damage caused by sinkhole activity, meaning it is still habitable but just needs repairs, it will be covered under sinkhole. The one thing I do know about catastrophic ground collapse insurance here in the Villages, Florida, because it's happened a few times, mostly up north, but it's never, ever just a certain area of sinkholes. Sinkholes can occur in any state. I've seen many of them at any time. And same thing here. You know, you can say, well, up in the northern part they have more sinkholes than the southern part. At a certain time, that could be true. But that does not necessarily mean that's going to be the history of a sinkhole. His sinkhole is because of the limestone base that we have here. It disintegrates, it washes away, generally during the rainy season when we have tons and tons of rain that washes through the soil, washes the limestone away, leaving a cavity in the base down there, and then the soil just falls in, and hopefully your house ain't sitting on top of that soil when it falls in. That's what a sinkhole is. If you have sinkhole insurance, it's going to cover your house and possibly sinkhole repair. You really need to delve into that, because a sinkhole could actually cost as much as $100,000 just to repair it. But if your house is redeemable and it's not been declared inhabitable, in other words, whoever inspected the sinkhole area, if they say you can still live in that house, then that will come under sinkhole insurance to cover that damage. If they tell you your house is uninhabitable, you have to move. You have to get your stuff and get out. Or they'll tell you you can't go back in that house to get your stuff. We're declaring it uninhabitable. Now we're talking catastrophic ground collapse. And what each one of them pays for in each situation is totally different. Such as, like I said here, catastrophic ground cover collapse coverage is very restrictive and must meet all four criteria listed above to qualify for loss. Now let's go above it and see if we can find those four criteria. Catastrophic ground cover collapse definition. Catastrophic ground collapse means the geological activity that results in all of the following: the abrupt collapse of the ground cover, a depression in the ground cover clearly visible by the naked eye, structural damage to the building including the foundation. Remember, we're all in slabs. That's our foundation. The insured structure being condemned and ordered to be vacated by the governmental agency authorized by law to issue such an order for that structure. In other words, he's telling you to get out. And now we're talking catastrophic ground collapse. Florida experiences more sinkhole activity than any other state. Sinkholes form when rainwater dissolves limestone and other types of rock underground. Florida's bedrock consists mainly of limestone, which is why sinkholes are such a risk to the state. Current Florida statute requires all personnel and commercial property insurance policies to include catastrophic ground cover collapse. But that may not cover you should a sinkhole damage your property. Both types of coverage are defined below with a comparison to help you determine your coverage needs based on your risk appetite. I simply say I'm just going to say it. Whether you agree or don't agree, that's totally up to you. Whether you buy, don't buy, that's always totally up to you. But catastrophic ground collapse is always offered on insurance in Florida. That's the law. But I say, get it all. Cover your butt. You know, people say, well, why would you need sinkhole insurance? The odds are it ain't going to happen. Why do you need fire insurance? The odds are it ain't going to happen. But by damn, you'll be glad you have it if it does happen. Sinkhole coverage does not require the building to be condemned and ordered to be vacated for coverage to trigger. Both catastrophic ground cover collapse and sinkhole coverage are intended to only cover the roofed and walled structures. They do not intend to cover cracked driveways, sidewalks, or patio decks. If you can remember when they had those big sinkholes up north and they condemned those houses and the lady sold them to a company that actually rebuilt those houses and recently has resold those houses are sitting on top of a sinkhole. And I said, and I don't know about what all the up-to-date rules are, truth and disclosure law should let those people know when they bought those houses for $500,000 that they're sitting on a sinkhole.
If you're selling a home in Florida, there is a seller's disclosure that is filled out.
There was a sinkhole there, and the ground, was repaired, and your home is sitting on it. They need to know that. Where if you get a home inspection before a mortgage here, they do not inspect that property for sinkholes. They do not inspect that property for a possible catastrophic ground collapse in the future. It's a 4-point inspection. That's all they do. The walls, the driveways, they just make sure that the building structure is sound. That's it. That's all they do. And in most people's minds, they're covered. Well, you are covered when it comes to that. But when it comes to catastrophic ground collapse and or sinkhole damages on that property, you are not. And you need to know this. Now, depending on what insurance company you go to, some insurance companies around here will just feed you a line of bullshit, and you got to be aware of this. Both catastrophic ground cover, collapse, and sinkhole coverage are intended to only cover the roof and walled structures. They are not intended to cover cracked driveways, sidewalks, swimming pools, patio decks. They do not cover sinkhole activity on open land, parking lots, street or roads, or similar property that may serve a community. If you lived in Florida for any length of time, you are familiar with the risk posed by the peril of sinkholes. Florida has more sinkholes than any state in the nation. Over the last couple decades, sinkhole losses have become a primary concern for insurers, homeowners, and developers, especially in Sinkhole Alley. Sinkhole Alley, let me tell you what they are. It consists of Hernando, Pasco, and Hillsborough counties. Originally in 1981, statutes have mandated that all property policies issued by admitted insurers must include coverage for the peril of sinkhole. Then in 2007, legislation introduced a new restrictive coverage known as catastrophic ground cover collapse, which replaced the mandatory sinkhole coverage. Under the revised law, Florida property insurance policies issued by admitted insurers must include catastrophic ground cover collapse coverage and offer sinkhole coverage as an endorsement for an additional premium. Get it? You may never need it, and I hope you never do, but it's already been proven fact here in the villages too many times that people needed it because the damage has hit here. Now, when you have a catastrophic ground collapse, I've already covered exactly what that is and when that insurance kicks in on catastrophic ground collapse. Coverage. Content coverage applies if there is a loss resulting from a catastrophic ground cover collapse. Damage consisting merely of the settling or cracking of a foundation, structure, or building does not constitute a loss resulting from catastrophic ground collapse. Now on a sinkhole, the coverage. A sinkhole loss means structural damage to be covered, a building including the foundation caused by sinkhole activity. Contents covered and additional living expenses apply only if there is structural damage to the covered building caused by sinkhole activity. By looking at the coverages in comparison, it is clear to see that qualifications for a catastrophic ground cover collapse loss is not easy. All 4 stipulations must be met. settling or cracking of the structure or foundation does not constitute a catastrophic collapse. Contrarily, sinkhole coverage is much broader. This stark contrast between coverage makes it imperative for insurance agents to not only comprehend these coverages, but to also explain them in their insureds, as this would be a tough lesson to learn at the time of filing a claim. So in summary, catastrophic ground collapse coverage is very restrictive and must meet all 4 stipulations to qualify for a loss. Florida property insurance policies insured by admitted carriers must include catastrophic ground collapse coverage. Admitted carriers must offer sinkhole coverage if requested for an additional premium. So there you go. I hope that kind of helps give you a little bit of a definition between the two. Don't think that catastrophic ground collapse insurance on your policy covers you for a sinkhole. It does not. There are specific rules on catastrophic ground collapse. 4. I've read them to you, I think, twice now. You must hit each and every one of them. But the big thing is your home has to be deemed uninhabitable by the agency that is licensed and qualified to deem your house uninhabitable. It just can't be you saying I can't live here or something like that. It has to be from that agency that's licensed to do that. Also, I had a lot of emails when I reported one of them sinkholes up north, sending me email that they didn't think this was right because they didn't take care of their swimming pool. That was part of the property. They didn't take care of a sidewalk because that's part of the property when they bought it. Should be covered under the insurance. Listen, all that's probably could be negotiated, whatever insurance company you have, however long you've had that insurance company, and all these kinds of things. But the facts of it is, I've read it. It said catastrophic ground collapse does not cover things like cracked driveways, cracked swimming pools, wood decks, or any of that kind of stuff. Sinkhole insurance, it's iffy, you know, so just don't count on it. That's what I'm just where I'm gonna put it. And if they do, you're just ahead. But I'll just say don't count on it. What it really boils down to is if you have any kind of catastrophic ground collapse that includes a lot of damage around your property, such as cracked driveways, cracked sidewalks, cracked patios, whatever, you're going to be spending money out of your pocket to get that stuff fixed. You're just going to have to do it. So just get the best insurance you can afford, and hopefully if a sinkhole does hit your area or catastrophic ground collapse does hit your area, just hope for the best. And with that being said, I'm going to get out of here and say good luck. Just know what insurance you need, and if you can't afford to buy sinkhole along with your catastrophic ground collapse insurance and you want to take that chance, that's totally up to you, but I don't recommend it. See you guys on the other side.